Hello and welcome to another episode of The Pursuit of Myself. I am your host, Rain. And wow, there's so much I actually want to speak into today. We just had a really huge dynamic call in the Myself Academy group. I have a mastermind for women founders, women entrepreneurs that are growing, scaling, changing careers. And the conversations that we get to have in community are just beyond anything that you get when you are a solo entrepreneur. There's a few things that happened to me last week. I went to an incredible lunch. It was called Her Table, and Tony flew over from, I think it was Byron Bay, and she hosted 20 people at Santini. And I hadn't been to an event and been around women like that for a really long time. If you guys have known me for a long time, you'll know that, back in the day, I always went to events. My ex-husband played for the Eagles, so we got invited everywhere. We did everything, etc. And then I got into restaurants and socializing and blogging and influencing. So after all that, when I started to get into all this work that I did about 5 or 6 years ago, I really shut the door on going to events and networking. I needed a break. But Tuesday lunch really reminded me how incredible it is to be around other women that are doing the thing, that are making that money, that are growing their business, that are ahead of you. But it's also gorgeous to be around women that are inspired by you and that want to ask questions. And so you're being of service as well as being expanded and inspiring and being inspired. It was so wonderful. And actually on Sunday, I also went to a full day event in Perth. Sean Collins, the medium, came over. I think he flew over from Sydney, and he's doing a tour around Australia at the moment. But I was invited to a really small private day with him on Sunday where we went deep into our mediumship skills, our intuition, reading energy and connecting with other women. And it has really just sparked my excitement and also my knowing again of how important it is that we are in a community that uplifts us, that understands us, that doesn't judge us, that encourages us. We all know, especially in Australia, of the tall poppy syndrome. The moment you get somewhere, someone wants to rip you down. We all know how hard it is to change and grow in a family that isn't supportive of where you're wanting to go. We all know how hard it is to change and grow with a group of friends that are invested in you staying exactly the way you are. When we are in community, when we listen to other women's story, when we hear the path, the journey that they've been on, we get inspired and we think, oh, shit, that is possible for me. That is possible for me. And that is something that really has landed for me lately. And you'll be seeing a lot more as much as my live event, if I haven't mentioned that yet on this podcast. May 22nd, ladies, live event, She Evolves is coming. You need to get in this room. This is how we evolve. We do this together. We do this together. Okay, I actually want to get stuck into this episode. So let's go. Welcome to the Pursuit of Myself, the podcast. Here we take ownership of our healing. We rewrite the rules, we turn knowledge into wisdom, and we lead our lives with intention. I'm your host, Rain, and it's my mission to empower you to get back into the driver's seat of your life. So I want to talk about something today that I think a lot of you are sitting in right now and just don't have the language, maybe the foresight or vision for it. There's a version of you that is walking around, successful, capable, doing all the things, but to really bring it down, your soul never agreed to this space. There is still confusion. There is still resentment. There is still overwhelm. There is still this gap, right? We might look on the outside and it's calm or we've done all this work, but there is still this gap. And I want to speak into that because this woman that you're walking around as now got built. She got built. And somewhere along the way, you became her because you had to, because the room demanded it, because your family needed you to, because the love that you received was conditional on you achieving something or being a certain way. And belonging had a price. Your nervous system figured out very early what it had to do to keep you safe. But here is the actual wild part. And this is the disconnect. She worked. you got there in the end. Like, she built the life, she held the marriage together, or maybe you've at that point where she's ended it, you've got the career, maybe you got the degree, you built the business, you earned the money. She did all of it. But somewhere, maybe like in the car, maybe at 3 a.m. in the morning, maybe a glass of wine, 2, 3, when the house finally has gone quiet, something whispers, is this it? Now, I want to be really clear with you, and this is not a malfunction. This is not to reflect and say, oh my God, there's something wrong with you. This is not depression. This is not a gratitude problem. But there is this call. There is this evolution that is knocking. There is this playground maybe that we've become so complacent in that we are not aligned to the fact that we are ready to grow, evolve, and experience more out of our life, because the more is unsafe. We are actually wired for more, every single one of us. But somewhere along along our journey, we've been told that wanting more is disrespectful. Wanting more means you're not in gratitude. But we are actually wired for more. Your soul did not come into this body to play out the conditioning that got installed in the first 18 years of your life, right? Your soul came here to express itself, to find passion, to fully and truthfully in this lifetime, through this body that you're in this moment. Your soul came here to express, to grow, to evolve. And conditioning that we have all received is really loud. The conditioning of family, the conditioning of environment, the conditioning of experiences, that is what has been driving the bus. Conditioning has been picking your partners. The conditioning will pick your career, your friendships, your version of success. It has been deciding what you allow yourself to want and what you write off as too much. But I'm here to tell you something that I know so deeply. The soul actually never stops talking. It never stops whispering. It never stops knocking on your heart. She does get quieter when the conditioning gets really, really loud. When the fear, when the frustration gets loud, the soul just quietens down. So when she does show up, when she is finally there going, ugh, is this it? Restless, boredom, as the success that doesn't feel like anything at all. We maybe achieve something and we just don't feel like it's like on to the next thing. We can't settle in this achievement. Sometimes it shows up as the relationship that looks fine, but still feels like a slow burn. It feels like a slow leak. It feels like don't know if this is where I'm supposed to be. That is the soul saying, I am still here and I'm asking you for more. It's really interesting when I start talking about the soul, because it is the way that I distinguish between the humanness of what we're doing and the soul is what we're desiring or who we're allowing ourselves to be. And when we aren't in alignment, there is this separation of being and soul. There's this separation of knowing that we feel like we want more. Again, I know a lot of these podcasts, I want to dip into the marriage side of things, because I work with a lot of women that are either unhappy, separated, or wanting deeper connection in their marriage. We don't need to blow up our lives to actually admit that we want to experience more from what we are living, right? We can simply want to deepen our connection with self so that we can deepen our connection with others. But the deeper connection with self is actually a deeper connection with your soul. And it is here asking for more. Now, awareness precedes choice. The fact that you can feel the call, the fact that you can feel that is this it question, means you've actually already started. Your soul is starting to wake up. The soul is tapping and it's starting to get loud. But here's the part that nobody talks about. The evolution and the growth doesn't actually feel exciting. It can feel like you're dying, because the version of you that you have been for so long, this conditioned version, so much of her actually has to go. Or at the very least, she does not get to drive that. She does not get to be in the driver's seat of your life anymore. And the ego that built her, the ego that built the conditioning to keep you safe, to keep you alive, which made sure she got you all the love and approval and safety that she could possibly find in that state, your ego is going to fight you every step of the way. And the way that it does this is it looks like a procrastination. It looks like avoidance. It looks like I'm not ready yet. It looks like when the kids grow up. It looks like I'll start next year. It looks like 47 books on your bookshelf that you've read and haven't integrated. It looks like another course. This is what it looks like when we are avoiding growth. And we don't avoid evolution because we are weak or lazy. We avoid it because we are so loyal to the version of us that got us to where we are, loyal to the woman who worked so hard to experience the life that she's living. And somewhere along the way, by us saying we want more, we're making this version of you wrong. It doesn't want to be wrong. This is where we know when we are loyal to the story, it keeps us stuck. And it says, if I leave her behind, I will lose everything. But here's the truth. She doesn't disappear. That version of you doesn't get abandoned. She just stops being in charge. And I speak like this with a lot of my clients who are experiencing deep levels of grief. You don't just get over it. Time just doesn't heal it. It is a part of you that will constantly be with you. You will take it wherever you go, but it gets to stop being in charge. It gets to stop being in the driver's seat. It gets to sit beside you or behind you so that it comes with you, but it doesn't decide your next move. And this is the thing when we are in this easy, conditioned life, when we have the soul that's saying, I know that I want more, but we're loyal to the easy conditioned life, we use things to constantly distract us. We use things to fill up our time. Maybe it's extra glass of wine. Maybe it's I'm just so busy. I don't have time to do anything else other than what I'm doing, because we don't want to listen to the fact that our soul is knocking on the door saying, is this it? I want more, right? The ego part of us, which is the conditioning, is not the enemy. You don't have to fight your ego. It is not something that you have to defeat, like we've been taught in so much self-help and personal development. You just have to befriend, hold compassion, and then direct. But we can't do that unless we're willing to actually look. So the other thing I see a lot of is evolution as this massive breakthrough, this stripping down, panic attack on the floor, this 5-day retreat that I go to and then I come home and face my life again. This is not evolution. This is just a moment in time. There is nothing that actually is going to come in and fix you. Evolution is like running a marathon. It is a daily, rebellious act of love. It is choosing yourself over and over again until you are stepping in the direction of something that you are working towards, that you are proud of, that you are desiring, which does require you to step out of the story long enough to actually see it, to be able to build it. It requires you to be radically honest about what's happening in your life, not just the curated version of I'm fine and everything's great, not the version that protects your image, but the actual truth of what you're experiencing. And it requires you to feel what you've been avoiding feeling. And most of you have been avoiding this for a really, really long time. I know this because when I start working with women, like especially in my groups, so often on the opening calls, you just have this sense of like this cry, like, I can't believe I actually am here. Like, I'm so proud of myself for being here. This final moment where they're letting go and giving trust to see what can actually be born from delving into things that they've been avoiding for so long. Because what it is asking of you is to discern between what is actually your truth and what is your fear dressed up as wisdom. What are you fearing that is keeping you stuck? And you're saying, I can't, this is the life, this is where I am, this is all that there is. And ignoring all these warning and signal signs that are coming to you, I would like to say from above, but let's say from the inside out. And then it requires that moment, that turning point, that choice for you to say, okay, I can feel this information. What do I do with it now? But it does require you to choose it every single day. And you need to keep choosing yourself, to keep refusing to abandon yourself for comfort, for belonging, for other people's expectations. The version of you that was easier for everyone else to be around, the one that saved everyone, the one that did everything, the one that organized everything. There is no version of this work where someone completes it and gets it done and it's finished sayonara. This is the work forever. Don't let that statement put you off this work, but that's what it is. Every time you evolve and we get comfortable and we're sitting on this beautiful platform of ease, the soul is eventually going to wake up and be like, I'm a year on. What do we want now? I'm in a new phase of my life. What do I want now? We cannot ignore the soul forever. I'm telling you all of this because I know some of you are sitting with the call right now and you've been sitting with it for a while. I also know because I've lived it over and over again, the multiple transitions and transmutations of my identity and the evolution of my soul. I've lived this for years, and you can think about evolving for another year, or you can read a book, you can listen to another podcast, you can intellectually understand every word that I just said and not move an inch, or you can put yourself in a room where it actually happens to you, where you can actually start embodying it, start living it, and start making change. Not the version of you sitting at home reading about it, you in a room live. And this is actually why I've created She Evolves: community, inspiration, expansion, safety. It's one day with me, with other women who are hearing the same call that you are hearing right now. You will not leave with information. You will leave with an experience. The first felt moment of who you actually are underneath the woman who was built just to belong, to fit in, to make a certain amount of money, to have a safe career, to have a vanilla life, to have, okay intimacy, to have the okay marriage. You get to start meeting the version of you that's like, fuck, like, this is not it. And I'm curious about what else there is for me out there. And this is where you get to start exploring that version of you. I want to invite you all. Tickets are already on sale. Tickets are selling fast. But this is the soul's journey if you're brave enough to explore what this could look like for you. I go hard at this because I work with so many women that keep coming back for more, because once you start evolving, you get addicted to feeling the joy and the exhilaration of what it's like to be in your authenticity, to be in your power, to be in your truth, and to lead from that place, not from the safety, not from the conditioning, not from the fear, but leading from the heart, the passion, the soul. It does become the guiding light that you get to live by. And everyone around you gets to feel that presence and that light that is shining from you, and they get to experience that with you. You get to bring people along for the journey, but it does all start with you saying yes to your evolution. I'll put the link below in the show notes, but I really, really hope if you can make May 22nd work for you in Perth, make a way out of no way. This will be a beautiful high proximity event in a loving community that is there to move, to grow, to evolve, and you won't even be able to help yourself by leave the day at 2:00, completely transformed into a knowing of where you want to go next. Join me, and I'll see you next week.